New York. Good morning, Al. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We are
good.
great, thank you. How does the day after feel as a general manager? Do you look back at what you've done? Do you look back at what you could have done? Is there any regret, or what are your overall emotions looking back on the trade process?
Well, exhaustion. No, actually, we felt very good. I think a lot of things developed pretty much the way we thought they would. Going into it, we felt that the market for hitters was going to be very limited, and I think we were vindicated in that. And if you see how all the trades that were made, 99% of them were pitchers. I think the only hitters that were traded was JD, Duda with the Mets, and Alex. In reality, Alex wasn't moved because of his hitting, because he went cold in July, and it was more of for his catching ability.
Now, I want to ask you about Justin Verlander. That seems to be the big intrigue around here. First of all, can you clear up, were you willing to pay a portion, half, whatever, of his salary to a team if you would have gotten prospects or a return that you wanted?
Yeah. The truth of the matter is that the negotiations really never got that far. Because we never really got into any negotiations. I basically got a few calls, teams checking in, just letting us know that they have some interest. And in some cases, calls were not made back or followed up upon. And in no case was I offered, a certain package of players in exchange for us taking back any amount of money. So I never really got that far. But to answer your question differently, if the right deal were there, yes, we would definitely consider paying down the contract in exchange for prospects. But we have not got to that point. I would suspect, it's very difficult for a club, even if we were to pay down the contract at this time of the year, to really add any significant amount of dollars. Very difficult. And more so in today's game, after the new collective bargaining agreement was made, even the big market clubs that traditionally spend, like the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox, Texas and so forth, even those clubs right now, none of them want to be over the luxury tax a third time. A third time, it's almost like a hard cap, where the penalties are so severe about taking away a first-round pick, taking away international signing money. The penalties are 75% tax on the overspending. Really can paralyze a club for years to come, even the big market clubs. So in this kind of after the new collective bargaining agreement, even the big market clubs are hesitant to take on those kind of contracts. So it really makes it difficult. But now in saying that, in the off season, when teams restructure their rosters and restructure their budgets, that could maybe develop into something different.
Yeah, because yesterday you said that you probably have a better chance at the winter meetings or in the off season, or even the month ahead, the waiver deal. But last year at the winter meetings, you guys possibly would have traded him, but you said you couldn't get enough value for him. What makes you think you'll be able to get sufficient value at this coming winter meetings?
Well, again, last winter was a perfect example of what happened right after the agreement between the union and Major League Baseball, where teams went cold and adding any kind of big dollars in a trade. And even free agent signings, if you saw the big bats that were available in January, like Encarnacion and Bautista, guys that had tremendous offensive years, were out there in January, were out there late looking for a job, and the dollars in the years that people thought they were going to get, they never got. So in that sense, the market completely changed, and it made it much tougher. So basically, even last winter, things changed dramatically. So as we move forward and teams readjust their budgets and readjust their rosters, you would hope that there would be room for more trades to come down the road. But it just depends on every club and how they view their rosters and their needs.
We're talking to Tiger General Manager Al Avila here, Jamie and Stoney on the Troy Laser Hotline. Do you, in your mind, Al, have a timetable as to when you believe this team should and can get back to contending for the American League Central?
Well, it's hard to put a time frame on it. You can't just say, hey, we'll be back in 2 years, we'll be back in 5 years. In the past, history will tell you there's, a GM gets hired to turn around a club, and they'll say, we got a 5-year plan. And, the 5-year plan turns into a 10-year plan. And sometimes teams get lucky. And when I say lucky is that, through hard work, certain things pan out a little bit quicker than you anticipated, and maybe, you're back at it in 2 or 3 years. So, and then some teams make a big step forward and then take a step backward. Houston is a perfect example. 4 years of losing 100-plus games, and then they take a big step forward, and they take a big step backwards. And right now they're one of the best teams in all of baseball, but that was not done in 2 to 3 years. That was done, 5 to 7 years to get there where they are today. But they went through an extreme, I would say, plan of completely tearing it down, losing for many, many years. There was a fan base there that was lost too. But right now, everything is they're one of the best. The Yankees are a good example of a turnaround, going young, getting leaner in the salary, trying to accumulate young players. And right now, I would say, after seeing the Yankees, they might be the best team in the American League today. So they've done it in a shorter period of time without having to, let's say, lose 100 games. So there's a lot of different ways of doing it. The only thing is, you just got to take it a year at a time and do what the market allows you to do, and based on the players you have, in order to bring back some young prospects. Like in our case, the best we can do was, a J.D. Martinez that was going to be a free agent, and even a Justin Williams, which, he could have still pitched for us next year, to bring us back, some prospects. The rest of the players that we have right now are we haven't been able to do that with. So in our case, obviously, it's a slower pace, but you know what? It's a steady pace. Last winter, we tried to do some of this. It wasn't there. Perfect example is, we tried to trade Justin Williams last winter,
Wilson,
and we could not get the what we thought was the value in return. This trading deadline we did. One perfect example is last year, even the Cubs checked in on Justin Williams. We asked for Candelario last year, just like we asked for a premium prospect of each club that was interested. We didn't get him last year. They would not offer it to us. Now here we are at the trading deadline, and we got Candelario plus another prospect. And so it came to fruition in this trade deadline. So as you see, it just depends on the timing of it all. And so, we're fortunate enough to get some prospects at the trading deadline here with Alex. Justin, as we move forward, we'll attack it through August and see if anything develops there. If not, then of course we'll be prepared for the winter.
Al Avila joins us on the Troy Laser Hotline. You look at who you got, not to go through each players, a lot of infielders. Would you agree that the problem with the organization thus far for the past, 5-6 years, is the development or lack thereof of really good positional players? I mean, you look at you have a lot of pitchers, but there's really no great outfilders that the other teams seem to have, that type of stuff.
Yes, and that's something that we targeted and we wanted to address, obviously at the trading deadline, and to get an influx of good positional player prospects, because that was a big void in our organization for many years. And partly because obviously, we let some guys go or traded some guys, because I'll give you a good example. We have, Eugenio Suarez is playing very good and producing very well for the Cincinnati Reds. He went there in the trade
for Alfredo Simon. That was a bad trade.
Alfredo Simon, yeah. Hernan Perez was in a situation much like Machado was, where we couldn't get him enough playing time and he was struggling, so we had to let him go on waivers. And he's been producing very well for the Milwaukee Brewers. Avisail Garcia, the outfielder that's having was an all-star this year for the White Sox. He was in a three-way trade that got us Iglesias. So he's producing at an all-star level for the White Sox. Corey Knebel, one of our top picks a few years ago, is the closer right now for the Milwaukee Brewers. So these guys were traded or let go for whatever reason, and now they're producing in other places, and we're left with a void.
You're making Tiger fans cry right now with these names, Al.
Well, I mean, it's the reality. And so right now, what's our goal and what's our plan? Our plan is to keep our players that we like. That doesn't mean we're not going to trade away players. We're going to keep the players we like, and we're going to try to acquire more players. And we've targeted position players because that's where our big void was. We didn't have a prospect at third base, shortstop, second base in the entire organization that you can say this is going to be our next infielder, other than Machado, who is out of options and he's already at the big league level. So it was a big necessity of ours to get a big influx of those players, and we got guys all the way from rookie ball all the way through AAA throughout the system. So we felt we did a good job there. We also feel that we have some good prospects in our pitching in the organization as far as starters and some power arm relievers. But going back to your original question as far as impact hitters. We were winning for many years, and we had a lot of success, and you can't deny that. Nope. Because we did. But because of that, we were picking low in the draft, and in some cases, we gave up top draft picks. But usually, what you'll find the impact hitters or impact position players in the top 5 picks of the first round. So that's why there's a lot of teams that when they lose, and they get to pick number 1, number 2, or number 3. 2 or 3 years in a row, you're going to get the cream of the crop, and that's where the impact hitters come from.
Well, you guys could have had Judge, and you took Crawford instead. So I mean, they were available too.
That's correct, and you can go back and talk to the New York Yankees, and if they felt that Judge was going to be the Judge that we see today, he might have been maybe the first pick overall.
Al, we appreciate the time. We know you've been super busy. Thanks so much, and we will talk to you soon.
All right, guys. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks,
all right, thank
Al.
you. There he is, Al Avila, the Tiger GM, joining us here on 97.